Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
Hello, hello, hello. I don't know why. I should really stop doing that like every single time.
Well, you gotta have a cat.
Eric, how are you?
Very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. We got the Keean Bexte.
The
Oh, wait, he's
real Keean.
the
is
real
what my
Keean
branding
Bexte.
goes by, actually. Thanks.
Excuse me. And you haven't replaced your green screen behind you. I was hoping maybe Ocean, Mars, the flat Earth, something like
You
that.
know, I'm still trying to figure out how I have no idea how to do it. I'm so tech unsavvy that I've been trying. Skype does it for me. You know, typically when I call in places on Skype, it'll just fix the background for me, but I'm too inept. So
Well, I'm just inept. We just opened that, but it's first topic we'll get to. You're the oldest young man ever, then, if you can't do any of this stuff. So I don't know what you're doing with your free time. I heard it's video games, but that's just me.
it is video games. To be fair, I haven't really tried that hard. It's just been so easy to use Skype, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, Bill
Next
Gates
time.
loves you for using Skype.
Hmm.
I'm a
The
Zoom
first
guy.
thing, the Zoom guy. So China loves you. China, Bill Gates. We don't have a China warning at the beginning of the video, so we might be in trouble. The first topic on the docket, Eric and Keean, is what I accidentally put on the screen. It's basically Diddy, and he's complaining again. Now, last year he made a play for an all-black political party in the United States. This year, 2021 move is, if you love us, pay us. A letter from Sean Combs to corporate America. Now, this is on his website, you guys, revolt.tv. And here's what he says in his letter. When confronted by the leaders of several black-owned media companies, General Motors listed my network, Revolt, all caps, great style guide, as an example of the black-owned media it supports. While Revolt does receive advertising revenue from GM, our relationship is not an example of success. Instead, Revolt, just like other black-owned media corporations, fights for crumbs. While GM makes billions of dollars every year from the black community. We're going to go ahead and open a new tab to see what the hell that is. Exposing GM's historic refusal to fairly invest in black-owned media is not an assassination of character. It's exposing the way GM and many other advertisers have always treated us. So to me, you guys, and I'll check on that link in a second, he's saying, first of all, he's shitting on his own advertiser, which is really weird. He's saying, not only should you give me money, you guys, these big corporations are obligated to give companies money, such as myself, but they also have to base this on race. Eric, is this a good idea, business-wise?
Absolutely not. First of all, Diddy is a billionaire, right? He's independently wealthy. He should not be begging GM for crumbs either way. But on top of all that, I mean, look, bro, every advertiser doesn't want to, every business doesn't want to advertise with every single market, and that's okay, right? Like, if I'm starting a business, I'm not gonna advertise on The View, right? Because they're not gonna like me, they're not gonna want to buy my product. So I'm sure there's some people over at GM who are like, maybe the Diddy, Revolt woke crowd. And I don't know too much about Revolt. I'm looking at it right now, but I'm willing to bet they're not they're not the stereotypical GM enthusiast, and that's okay, right? I mean, he has other brands, he has other people that I'm sure are willing to advertise with him, and I think this just is him coattailing on the other racism stuff happening. I mean, racism's always happening, right? It will never end. But this is him coattailing on what's happening in Georgia in a similar fashion, not the same exact fashion, but in a similar fashion to the way that Jeremy Lin was coattailing on the Asian hate crimes out in the Bay Area. They just come out, a week later and say, yeah, look, it's over here too. And it's absolutely obnoxious.
Well, Keean, if this is the first you've heard about it, what is your initial... Go ahead.
I don't have anything especially profound to say about it. It's just, I miss living in a world where the first thing you hear about a business isn't the skin color of the owner. Like when was this when did it become a normal thing to to put an asterisk next to a business name and say this is black owned. And Uber does this too, and the media just eats it up. This is all being pushed on us by the media. They're telling us that the skin color of the owner is something that's important, and it's really not. It's important for them to push their agenda, but it's just God, I just find it so frustrating. And maybe that's just the world we live in now, where we just have to accept that race is this end all be all issue. Like it's the primary focus of the media. It's the primary focus of woke capital, like GM. Like GM is not innocent in this, right? Like GM buys into this whole idea that big corporations massive corporations need to be spending their money pushing a political agenda. GM does it, banks do it, in Canada the big five especially. They're all guilty of it, and then when it comes back to bite them, they do the surprise Pikachu face, and it's just like these people are all elites, right? My dog's going to start barking now, but these people are all elites, and I just don't have time for them. I don't have time for them.
Is it real though? Is it real? Is this woke capital? Like, is it actually real? Like, I was on Amazon the other day.
Well, no, they don't actually care.
But like, say you're an actual small business owner, black or otherwise, right? And you see a little, if you're setting up a shop in Amazon or Shopify or whatever, and it's like, or you can be setting up a Yelp account, and it says like, you can list your business as black owned, right? So say I do that. Do you actually think that's going to work to my benefit? Like, all the black people out there are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to shop from him now. Or is it going to actually turn off a whole entire sector of people that might use your product? And I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't think that there's a huge group of black people out there who are exclusively using black products. I think, as soon as the stimulus checks hit, the line outside of the Louis Vuitton store will tell you that that's not true.
Well, I think this is just another weird marketing play by Diddy. He's always been a guy who's trying to market himself in different ways by doing different types of music, signing different types of artists. And like I said, last year he started an all-black party. Now he's just being like, hey, let's put some public pressure on companies to just give us money. Like, Revolt is what? A culture magazine, I guess. It's like, it's not that mainstream. Like, it's big enough. It's big. But like, is it some travesty that not only, I think in his mind, he thinks that if a company that gets money from the big business says something, we're using our voice properly. But in reality, what you're doing is you're taking a huge, I'm trying not to swear sometimes, you're shitting all over the company that's giving you probably $1 billion, maybe not $1 billion, but like $100 million a year, a couple 100,000. I should not just make up the numbers. The point is, the company that's giving you money, you're just like, give me more, and you should give other companies more based on your race. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And I think Diddy's smart enough to know that. He wasn't smart enough to know that people were just going to post pictures of him and Trump when he announced that Trump was racist. So there's that. There's so much racism going around here, you guys, that it's hard to even keep track of. Portland High School is the next word. Yeah, that's a interesting segue, isn't it, Keean? Portland High School, and this is from just a few days ago, delays vote on evergreen mascot because trees are racist. Portland High School is saddled with a dilemma over whether trees are racist. Ida B. Wells Barnett High School, named after the prominent black activist and journalist who chronicled a lynching in the post-Civil War era, was supposed to vote on a new mascot Tuesday, according to Portland Tribune. That's where I originally read it. This is just the Federalist I was checking. I wanted to check to see if anyone else covered it. The vote was postponed, however, following complaints from a board director that a change from the Trojan mascot to evergreens was racist. I'm wondering if there is any concern with the imagery here. I'm going to pick up the microphone from this one. I wonder if there is any concern with the imagery here, you guys. Is using a tree as our mascot? I think everyone comes with blind spots, and I think they might have been really blind on this spot. Trees. Can we not, we can't have any mascot with a gun, Eric? We can't have any mascot that's associated with anything bad that's ever happened. An inanimate object. Now racist? This is just one person, though.
What is it about the tree? I don't get it.
Because it's supposed to be about lynching.
Yeah, exactly. So that
And lynchings were done by hanging people from trees. So they're saying somebody who wrote about lynching, the school is named after them. It can't be an evergreen tree because
okay.
that's right.
Okay, so
Yes, you look confused.
well, first of all, it's a stretch, right? I mean, we spoke a couple weeks ago about them renaming schools, entire schools in San Francisco because of racism, and we spoke about them painting over murals that invoked racism, and that was all silly. That was all silly. George Washington High School, renaming that is silly. Painting over a mural because there's Indians, that's silly. But I can almost kind of see where they're coming from. This, they have reached so far out of the ballpark that it's, I mean, this, I hope, can again wake some people up. Like we spoke with Jay the other week. It's like every time they do something so stupid, I'm thinking that it's going to eventually backfire, but they just keep doubling and tripling down. And this also reminds me of that article from a couple weeks ago out in Oakland, my hometown. There's an organization that's helping Black people get into nature or something. It's like apparently Black people couldn't hike without literally being like having their hands being held by like some organization that literally was providing, you know, tents and kayaks for children's summer camps are now helping Black adults get into nature. I mean, it's absolutely insulting. And I think that some people actually have to be waking up to this. The only people, look, in my humble Black opinion, I don't think there's Black people in Oregon or in Oakland, California, who are like, yeah, I feel much better about this now. This is specifically for self-hating white lefties. I think. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't know what's happening.
Keean, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, we went to a place called Purple Woods where we learned where maple syrup came from. But do we care about this stuff? I mean, this is one school, and usually, I mean, was it the super weird school that had Brett Weinstein from it, Evergreen College? So that's kind of funny how that happened. Is it just one school right now? We hope, and their students probably, if their students want this, then they're the ones paying. They're the customers. They should change it to whatever they want. Is that a good logic there, Keean? Just to do what the customers want, or should there be some sort of standard here, given that it's a post-secondary school?
Why, like this goes back to what I was saying earlier. Why is this everything that we're talking about now? Is racism the only issue that our world is facing? Like I almost enjoyed it more when they were talking about climate change, because that at least made a little sense to me. This is they're like the mental gymnastics that they're doing to tell me that a tree is racist. I actually still don't understand it. I don't get what, like, this is their mascot isn't someone who puts, lynches people. That's not what they're doing, right? Like they're just it doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm gonna get frustrated if I talk more about it, to be honest.
Lucky for you, the next story, if we should even talk about it, I think people talk about it to death, is the United Airlines saying we need a diversity goal for pilots.
That's exactly where you want. That's exactly where you want diversity hires, in the cockpit of an airplane.
Yeah, I don't even think anything needs to be read, Eric. So they're hiring 5,000 new pilots in the next 9 years, and they're just going to train them. It doesn't matter how good or smart they are, I guess. I mean, you have to be smart to be a pilot. I had a friend in high school named Scott, and he wanted to be an astronaut. And then I looked into it, and you got to be a fighter pilot. You got to be a scientist. Like, it's not easy to just get up there and fly planes. You need thousands of hours, which I guess they're going to provide. But like, I think everyone said it to death because it's it should be so obvious. It's so hard to tell now if this is for something else. I think I read that United also lost a bunch of money, so maybe this is a ploy too, just a marketing scheme. But to just want to train people based on their race, like, where are we going? Where it's like, well, should be celebrated, you guys. We're just doing this. Women and minority pilots, so that means non-white men. Is essentially what it means.
They're the ones. United Airlines is the airline that dragged that old man. Was it an Asian old man? I think it was, down the aisle. Do you remember that? That went viral.
No.
Like,
Oh, that was a while ago.
4 years ago or something. So they've gone from I don't want to say lynching an Asian man down the aisle, but I mean they drugged this old man down the aisle because he couldn't communicate with the staff who were being belligerent to him. It wasn't the old man's fault at all. So they're going from that to telling us that, you know, we have to put up with affirmative action in cockpits. Affirmative action in cockpits. That's the last place you'd ever, you know, I'm fine with McDonald's having, you know, an affirmative action hires. I'm really fine with it. But when it comes to safety, the only metric that they should be judging by is how qualified the person is. They're either putting safety first or they're putting other things first, and their customers will judge that. I'm certainly going to judge that, and I'm not going to be flying United certainly in the future if this is a standard thing, and if they compromise on the quality of their pilots just so that they can say that they've hired more women, African American, Chinese, whatever it is. You know, I just can't believe that they would compromise safety just so that they can tick a box.
African Chinese is what I got.
I think. I don't even think it's real, bro. I think that it's a marketing ploy that's gonna backfire on them. It'll all blow over and it won't really matter. It's just the flavor of the day. Obviously, we're not going to be able to follow up with this. We're not going to look in 10 years. We're not going to look at and see like, oh, well, perfect. Just like they said they were going to do in 2021. They got the perfect quota. And, it's not real. It's just not real. It's something to get them in the headlines. And, like the old saying goes, all publicity is good publicity or something like that. I don't know. But on top of that, it's not – look, bro. As insensitive as this may sound, this is not going to get any hood rats out of Flatbush, Brooklyn, into flying a plane. Shout out to my old neighborhood of Flatbush, right? This is not those people are not going to just be like, oh, perfect. Like now I'm going to go be a pilot. If you were already on the road to being a pilot, you were already capable. You were already, had your feet on the ground. You already had your head on straight. You're already going in that direction. This is going to change absolutely nothing. It's just we're going to talk about it for a week or so. Nobody's going to follow up. The right wing, the Republicans are going to push back and say, we're going to boycott like the left, but they're obviously spineless, feckless little weasels as well, and it won't matter. We will not even hear about this in 2 weeks.
I think that you're right. It says in this article, scholarship commitments from United Airlines and JP Morgan and Chase. So they're getting paid by a big bank to push this, which is kind of weird. Maybe it's not that weird. It's more scary, maybe. But they've committed $1.2 million in scholarships. That won't go that far, given how expensive flight training is. This article says it seems like there's not many places that actually wrote about this because it was so much in the news. Maybe everybody was just like, I won't be the first person. But I guess we can classify this next thing as real news, even though it involves Alex Jones. Always entertaining. And I want you guys to pay attention to a specific part where Alex Jones attempts to stop a car with his bare hands by pushing on it.
You're about to run a human being over. Hey,
you got those children in there.
Who are you?
You got those smuggled children illegally. Hey, we need the police over here. They got a bunch of kids without their car seats. Here come the kids with the migrants from all over Central America, Honduras, Guatemala, you name it, right? Now keep in mind, once they go into this facility, the Border Patrol completely washes their hands of them. If they test negative, they're marched right down the street to the Catholic Charity. From there, they're given clothes, food, financial assistance. The debit cards that they have over $1,200 per person on them. They're then taken to the McAllen Airport in unmarked vans, and then they're released into the United States to a destination city of their choice.
You got a car seat for them? You got a car seat? That's illegal, bro. Where are you taking these kids? That's illegal.
If you get in a traffic accident, those
where
kids
are
are
you
going to get
taking
hurt.
these kids? You have a car seat.
That's illegal.
How is this Christian?
Hey, we need the police over here. They got a bunch of kids without their car seats. You're violating Texas law.
Who is this right here?
Hey,
you have no comment.
You got those children in there illegally.
You're about to run a human being over. Hey,
you got those children in there.
Who are you?
You got those smuggled children illegally.
Who are you? Where are you taking these children?
You're smuggling children.
Are you part of?
You got to be legally in that vehicle.
You're not a part of this organization? Who are you? Where are you taking these kids?
We know you're smuggling these kids.
Where are you taking these kids?
In the back of there without children seats.
Where are you taking these kids? Sir, identify.
This is a massive smuggling.
This is literally human smuggling. These are children. Where are you taking these kids?
And now,
Sir, where are you
at the
taking
front.
these kids?
They don't even have car seats.
Sir,
they have their seatbelts
their
on.
seatbelts aren't even on.
They
Where are
break
you
all the
taking these
laws.
children? Sir, identify yourself. Who are you?
Don't fucking hit me. I'll tell you right fucking
Who
now.
do you work for?
You're gonna be deep shit.
Are you a part of this organization?
No, sir. I don't know.
So you don't know where these kids are going?
They're going to check the COVID over there.
No, they came from over there. They're not being checked for COVID. So you don't know who you
I
work
need
for?
to call the police.
We need to call the police right now. I want to know where these kids are going.
You are violating state law.
They're not going there. You're not making any sense, sir. Identify yourself. Who are you?
Kids out of that back, man. If somebody rear ends you, those kids are gonna get hurt.
Who are these kids?
I don't know, sir. They go
Lie
to
them
the
down right there.
front. They
Get
go
the
to
cops. Where did you get them from?
From the church.
From the church. Where's the church?
San Juan Church.
Okay, so we just want to make sure that this is all good, okay, sir? I understand you're probably trying to help, at least appearing to, but you literally have a bunch of kids in here, a bunch of minors all by yourself.
Okay, the police is here. Come
Got
Okay.
kids piled in the back, no seatbelt, no anything. Yeah, they're piled in the back.
Okay. What's your name, sir? Do you have your ID on you? Or your driver's license?
Your human smuggling's gonna stop, freak.
So you're cool with human
So-
smuggling?
That's pretty much the end of it, you guys. I think they do find out that the guy is from that church, but I think the obvious thing here is you can't pile like 6 kids in the back of a car and with no seatbelts or no seats. Anyways, most of them probably legally have to be in a car seat. I think the age for that is pretty high, comparatively, and like. It takes Alex Jones and InfoWars to stop this from happening. And this is a question I actually posed Anomaly the other day was, Keean, I'll ask you, is there the moral imperative that I think the church would use as a defense of helping people, especially since they're Christian or Catholic coming from Central and South America? Should that override the fact that they are illegal immigrants? I mean, I'm not sure about this church in particular, so I won't even mention them by name, but we've seen photos and videos of churches have said thousands of migrants are put through their church per day, and they give them a place to stay, they give them a meal, and then they send them off by bus to sometimes wherever they want in the country. Should they be following is this a thing where they're just going to do it out of the goodness of their hearts, Keean, or should they just be saying like, no, we're not going to participate in this? Because you have to assume they don't agree with breaking the law.
Well, you think, but I mean, the video was pretty clear that you can't drive down a highway or street or whatever it is, and whatever, I don't know what city that was. I guess it was in Texas. You can't shove kids in the back of a car, literally pile them up and drive around. That's offense number 1, and it was caught on camera. I don't know what happened after that. And I'd be curious. That's the first time I saw the video. I'd be curious to know what happened. And my guess is there was no tickets issued, despite this seemed like just a Tuesday for him. This seemed like this was just how they operate.
I'm gonna get the rest of that article. I have a feeling that the article is not going to be too in depth. It's just going to be the video. But Eric, what's your response to that question? Because I think that in my mind, it's a bad thing that the churches are doing this, even if they want to help. I believe in the Bible, and I'm no Bible scholar. Don't get me wrong. That you're supposed to follow the law of the land. And just because the Biden administration says that people are coming across the border and we should give them stuff doesn't make what they've done legal. Or is that up for them to decide? Even
it's first of all, it's already come way too far. Like you said, this is clearly just another day of the week for him. That doesn't appear like it's his first time doing this, and we've already come way too far. When it gets to the point where Alex Jones is stopping a car with his bare hands, we've already come way too far. It should have been stopped months ago, weeks ago, years ago. I mean, Look, what do you do if somebody tries to get into your house without permission, right? That's a whole different question. But outside of that, I think it's funny that as soon as the cops show up, what do? They ask him for ID, which we've already been told is racist.
Wait a minute.
And secondly, if you look at the van, I mean, look, I will admit that I don't put my seatbelt on every single time I get in the car because I'm a rebel. I'm an American. But The van is already busted up. Look at the side of the van, right? I mean, it's already got dents and dings in it. They asked the man.
Yeah,
for
they've got photos over here. Keep going.
no, which we know is racist. And just my last little thing is, shout out Drew Hernandez. He does good work too. But it's just hilarious that they're screaming about the seatbelts. They're screaming about all that, which at first glance, to a leftist, to a lefty, a crazy AOC type of fan would probably just be like, you don't care, you don't really care. But it's like, dude, the van is already beat up. Like whoever's been driving around, if it's a community van, if it's the church's van, whoever's been driving that has already proven to us that they're not really that good at that job alone. So we've already come way too far, unfortunately, and right now it doesn't look like there's any way back, bro.
The copy on the website doesn't tell you anything more other than Alex Jones, he saved the day. Infowars.com. Get your boost for your body's natural defenses. Enrich your life with the Winter Sun stock. Winter Sun is back in stock. 40% off at the Infowarstore.com. Catholic Charities is the same organization handling illegals manila envelopes, which have money, vouchers, and instructions how to be transported. Do we want to go down this hole and see what this is?
Wait,
or will we be
quick, though, really quick? Is
yes.
Now, don't get me wrong, I believe in the Bible as well, but there is a lot of corruption. I mean, if you go to New York and you look at a lot of the churches on the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side, they got rainbow flags and Black Lives Matter, all type of stuff. These people, I mean, I went to private Catholic school, and we all know that the Catholic Church doesn't have the best reputation, right? I mean, that's a completely different rabbit hole, but
can't say that.
Just because it's the church doesn't mean that they're on the level. So A, they should be following the actual law, and B, I mean, look, think about it, bro. You got a guy in McAllen, Texas, putting 6 or 8 kids in the back of his car, just loading them in there like they're actual cargo. Like, I mean, it's already come too far. It never should have got this far to where Alex Jones, Mr. Gay Frog himself, is trying to stop you. Like, we've lost the plot.
Keean, have you seen the other Project Veritas stuff from the border where the people were sleeping under bridges?
Yeah.
Now, actually, you've been to the Canadian border a whole bunch of times. What's like the volume difference, just so people get an idea of how many people go to the U.S. border compared to another country?
Per capita, I mean, like, per capita into Canada, was it 40,000 crossed at Roxham Road? No, I'm not going to try and do the quick math, but just by the orders of magnitude, you'd think that just judging by Roxham Road, the problem in the Canadian border is like equally significant to the American crisis. Of course, our media just doesn't talk about it, right? Like Rebel News was the only outlet that bothered to mention Roxham Road in the past like 6 months. I was there twice. Even during the pandemic, there was illegals crossing the U.S.-Canada border at Roxham Road, and the RCMP were acting like bag boys for them, taking their luggage, putting it through a metal detector, putting it into a van for them so that they could be transported to Justin Trudeau's really nice facilities that he set up on the border to hold these folks with, water trucks and propane heaters. It was a really sophisticated operation, far more sophisticated than anything Justin Trudeau and Catherine McKennell and Harjit Sajjan have done for the First Nation reserves that have no water at all, right? Like they're trucking water to the border to help these illegals stay, nourished and happy. But their own citizens, First Nations even, they're just leaving to have boil water advisories for 5 years on end. And it's
explain what that is to people.
So First Nation, there's reserves in Canada. For those of you who aren't from Canada, the First Nations live on them, and lots of times the infrastructure that they live in is decrepit and awful. And it's because the government has put them in a position where, without property rights and without any, caring government, they have crumbling infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and water facilities and sewage. It's all crumbling, and water is perhaps the most important one. Leaving them with boil water advisories, there's toxic bacteria and microbes in that water that they need to boil out of it to be able to even have a shower in some cases because it's so bad. And this is in reserves from Manitoba to Quebec, right? Like this is a widespread problem in Canada, and Justin Trudeau doesn't care about it. He'll apologize and talk about how Canada was a genocidal country. Obviously, it wasn't. That's a lie. That's a hoax. But then he'll turn around and spend money on illegal aliens and neglect the ongoing health crisis on these reserves. It's really pathetic of Justin Trudeau. He's a pathetic man for doing that.
Keean, when you say there's no, sorry, Eric, when you say there's no property rights, what do you mean by that exactly? Is it owned by the reserve or?
Lots of times, yeah. I mean, they don't have any, depending on the reserve, depending on the treaty. A lot of treaty areas don't get the pride of ownership. They don't have an accountable government system where every citizen gets a vote and a voice, and their money is spent in ways that make sense. And it's not always their money; it's taxpayers' money that goes to these reserves from the feds. I want to say, I don't remember the exact accounting law. It's like an accounting on reserves law, so that the Indian band councils have to report their finances and explain what's going on and where residents' money is going. And Justin Trudeau scrapped that, of course, because he prefers that lack of transparency, so that Indian band councils can spend money on their own escalades and waste the money of their people and Canadians in general who are funding these reserves. Lots of times people living on these reserves, depending on the treaty, they don't own the house that they live in, so there's no reason to not. Yeah, I might get carried away here. The point is they don't have property rights. They don't have pride of ownership of their own infrastructure because there's no accountability there, especially within the bound councils. And Justin Trudeau doesn't have any interest in supporting them at all. So they're left with these boil water advisories while illegal aliens get posh living conditions.
This is insane. So just real quick, I just have a quick question. I mean, if we're saying that the crisis at the Canadian border is comparable to what we're seeing during the pandemic, is that right? I mean, while they're shutting people's businesses down, they're telling you can't leave the house, you got to wear a mask, and you still have influx. I mean,
yeah, and it never stopped. Not even for a moment did it stop. I was there before the pandemic several times. I was there, February, I think it was, when Liberals didn't think the pandemic was worth mentioning. They thought it was sort of that was when the Liberals thought it was a hoax. I was there saying, we don't know what this is yet. We don't know how bad this Chinese virus is. Why aren't we closing the borders? Justin Trudeau at that point had closed the borders to everyone else, but the illegal aliens were still coming through at Roxham Road. So we're like, why is this happening? And then it continued to happen. They were coming across without masks for a long time. They were coming across without the RCMP that had to staff that location. They weren't wearing masks either. They didn't seem to have any concern about their health or the health of Canadians who could be infected by these illegal aliens as they came in. And it's just gotten worse because it was a story. That was the story for like a month back in 2017. And then since then, it's just basically been Rebel News and a few other smaller outlets that have been even bothering to mention that people are still crossing Roxham Road to this day, despite the federal border to the United States and to the rest of the world being closed.
It is insane. And another point is that facility by the border there at Roxham Road was nicer than some of the COVID hotels, which Keean and David Menzies also broke when it was still considered a conspiracy that they existed. Keean and, was it Yukon?
Yeah, it was, it was the Yukon. I don't want to, it was the Yukon. And what I think so many people were upset by was that the hypocrisy of it, right? Like Justin Trudeau's entire handling of the pandemic can be explained by blatant hypocrisy, and this Roxham Road example is just one of them, right? Sorry, someone's just knocking at my door. I might have to head out here.
That's okay. I wanted to pay the bills before you go. Anyways, tell everybody 30 seconds about your website.
Yeah, go to the. I appreciate that, Andrew. Go to the edgepiece.com. We have a bunch of puzzles and some bumper stickers. We're gonna have a bunch more stuff too. We just shipped out the most recent orders, so those that actually should be updated. It's not pre-orders anymore. That one that you're looking at right now is the most highest resolution copy of that really iconic campaign poster of Sir John A. Macdonald in existence. We digitally restored it ourselves, and it looks really nice. I'm doing that puzzle on my kitchen counter right now. Actually, it looks really good. And the one of them I did myself, and the other one, actually two of the other ones I did myself. They look great. They're amazing. I'm a big fan of these puzzles. I think they would look great in your home. You should get one. If, you just go to theedgepiece.com and check it out. But Andrew,
yeah, go ahead.
I hope I can come back on the stream. Sorry, I forgot to cut it short. I think
no problem. Just a home intruder. It's fine. All right. Thanks, Keean.
Peace.
Well, I'm gonna get the one that I was showing there because I didn't want to get. I wanted to get one to support the lad, and but I'm not Albertan, so I'm not about to get like these Alberta maps and all that crap. Super chat here about Justin Trudeau. I like Justin Trudeau's apology for wearing blackface. We Canadians have work to do. Paraphrase, but to the point, is he deflected to all Canadians. He didn't know how many times he did it. He couldn't give a number.
His mishap on all Canadians.
Yeah, exactly. And then he said he was blinded by several layers of privilege because he grew up in a rich French area and his father was the prime minister. But when your parent's a politician, you should be a little bit more sensitive to things that might offend people and get you in trouble. Hashtag Hunter Biden. So, Eric, speaking of the Bidens, President Kamala Harris introduced Joe Biden here tonight about the new laws that aren't going to do anything. And we're going to play the intro here where they have this weird little wipe down ceremony.
Ever give up on this fight. And it is now my great honor to introduce the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Wipe it down. Everybody wipe. Even though that they're next to each other probably this entire day and both immunized. So, Eric, the actual laws, though, that they came up with, of course, they can't actually do things that prohibit the Second Amendment, or else that's going to be a huge, Supreme Court battle. And Biden doesn't want to do that. They just want to look good because a shooting that they chose to publicize happened. So, you want to walk us through what we're about to see Biden talk about?
Well, first, can we just briefly talk about the theatrics of that?
Okay.
That's what this is all about, right? It's all theater. None of it's real. Just like the Diddy thing. It's just look at me. It's just pure, unadulterated virtue signaling. I mean, we see it all the time. And I mean, look, the guy comes up, he rubs it down. He's got the mask that goes fully behind the head. And, I mean, it's just laughable. It's completely embarrassing. But that's what else can we expect from a completely pendulum swing from Donald Trump, who will tell you the truth, shoot it from the hip right at the podium. But yeah, I guess we could go ahead and roll the next clip. But this is just infuriating.
I just found the list of his other executive orders. They suck, but we'll get to those.
We recognize that cities across the country are experiencing historic spikes in homicides, as the law enforcement can tell you. The violence is hitting Black and brown communities the hardest. Homicide is the leading cause of death of Black boys and men ages 15 to 34.
It's
the
guns'
leading
fault.
Cause of death. But there are proven strategies that reduce gun violence in urban communities. And there are programs that have demonstrated they can reduce homicides by up to 60% in urban communities. But many of these have been badly underfunded or not funded at all of late. Gun violence in America, for those of you who think of this from an economic standpoint listening to me, estimated to cost the nation $280 billion, let me say it again, $280 billion a year.
He's been wrong with numbers before, Eric.
100%. So, I mean, this just triggers me through the roof. First of all, why can this man, he can't even open his eyes completely. Like, what's wrong? That's the first thing. That's just
It's bright.
Yeah, okay, that's just the petty surface level stuff. But secondly, he's using black people once again as his pawn, right? I mean, we can harken back to the if you even have to think about whether they're going to vote for me or Donald Trump, you ain't black, right? So, well, black people are dying. We need to take all the guns. So, he says the cities are experiencing gun violence. Who is mostly running these big cities? Who almost exclusively is running these big cities? It's
I
them.
would say the Scientologists.
It's obviously these deep, blue, progressive, regressive, democratic cities, right? I mean, gun violence in New York is through the roof, and I promise you, it's a lot harder to get a gun in New York than it is right here in South Dakota. You know what I mean? So
I'm gonna try to rattle off the cities there: Chicago, Detroit, New York, St. Louis, Baltimore. I'm sure New Orleans has to be on the list. L.A.
Yep.
So you're completely right, and I feel like I've talked about this before, where it's over 30 years, 50 years, some of these places where they've elected Democrats, and the gun laws in a lot of these places don't work. Now, I'm not going to say as an outside looking in non-American that America does have a very unique gun culture, of course, but it's based on their history. I'm sure so many other places do. And something people forget is that America doesn't have the highest gun crime rates. So many South American and Central American countries do. That's why so many people flee there. And it's not America's fault that there's tons of gangs. You can't blame somebody else for somebody else pulling the trigger. So on the outside looking in, it does seem like if you didn't have any guns from the start, there wouldn't be a problem. But statistically, when you get into the arguments of does more guns end up with less violence, in some cases it does. In a lot of cases, it does. In some cases, it doesn't. The strictest places like Chicago and Baltimore and New York and New Jersey too, they have some of the highest gun crime, and they say, well, it's the other states' problems that are it's because they're bringing them in. It's like the guns are here. Even if you banned all guns in the year 1995, the guns are still all there. Even if people are shooting each other with like M1 Garands.
I mean, in
fireworks.
New York, they're shooting at each other with fireworks. I remember that. That triggers me the most, and I might have to make a documentary on the fireworks terrorism that I experienced in Brooklyn. But the point is, these rules, these laws are not going to work, and the fact that, I mean, look, we've all seen the memes, right? Okay, lady, a drunk driver killed someone on the highway, so you can't drive. It doesn't make sense. The gun, like you said, okay, if we weren't, if there weren't already guns in the country, if we already didn't have a Second Amendment that predates even Joe Biden's, I mean, he's basically a corpse already, and the Second Amendment is older than him. So the idea that we're going to get rid of the guns is you could throw that out the window. It's not going to happen. And if you did, I mean, these are age-old points. Like, I'm not saying anything new here, but think about it this way. This is a silly analogy that I will use. Is when I was in New York, I was tearing down these mask signs. I was walking into stores left and right. I was going everywhere without a mask, and there's signs everywhere. But a sign is not gonna make somebody stop the crime, right? Like if I want to walk into a Barnes and Noble and they have a mask sign on the door, and I open the door and go in without a mask, it's just gonna happen, right? And the idea that you start telling people that they can't have guns obviously lets people with guns know that, hey, the chances are high that the people over there don't have guns, so let's go see what we can get from them. It's not hard. Like I don't know. I mean, does he think that the thugs out in Brooklyn are going to sell back their guns to him and everything's going to go peacefully? It's not going to happen. All they're doing is scaring people, scaring regular Americans, and driving up gun sales. That's all they're doing.
While we were playing the video, I tried to find an article that says exactly what the executive action is. There's it seems to me that now the thing to do is just post a thing on Twitter or a video and not even have an article, or just have the link go to the video with nothing written, because it seems to me like they're trying to hide what it actually is, because it's not going to do anything. So Twitter is what I was saying was they have the best explanation on just their moments. President Joe Biden announced a series of executive actions related to gun control on Thursday. The actions tasked the Justice Department with creating new laws to restrict ghost guns, or guns that can be self-assembled, crafting red flag laws that create a reporting system for potential at-risk gun buyers for states to model, and making a rule on stabilizing braces. So what I take from that is, how are you going to stop people from creating guns? I don't know how you restrict that. I'd have to hear more about it, maybe at certain pieces. Crafting red flag laws that create a reporting system for potential. The point in that sentence that stands out to me is for states to model. See, they're not actually making a law here. They're not actually proposing a federal law or anything. He's making an order for him to be able to direct money for whomever to design these laws that they can be like, hey, Democrat states, please enact these laws.
Yeah.
And we see that they don't even work most of the time. I mean, Nicholas Cruz, the FBI checked on him like 7 times or something in 1 year, and what happened there still happened. And I'm not sure what rule on stabilizing braces, what you could be doing to make a rule on that. And so he announced a new guy as a nominee. Basically, it seems like he's just giving this guy something to do, and they want to say executive action on gun control. This literally, like, what does this even do in relation to recent shootings? Nothing at all. They just want this. They just want this headline.
It's all theatrics, and I mean, it's still a money grab, right? I mean, even if you watch in the clip that he's talking about the black people, he says that these programs have been underfunded. So basically, he's saying that he's going to throw more money at the problem, right? I mean, the programs, he's saying that there's strategies and programs in the urban community that can lower the rate of gun violence, but the programs have been underfunded. What does that mean? That basically is telling me that Orange Man bad. We're going to throw more money. We're going to throw more money at the problem. Because money, I mean, this is very similar to the climate change thing, the global warming stuff. It's like no amount of money is going to stop a thug from Brooklyn. I mean, we had a story, 2 days ago about a tourist from Kansas who got hit by a stray bullet in Times Square, which used to be obviously the most populated neighborhood. I mean, every MTV, basically.
Don't they have that police booth there? Like, I always see things where there's like a booth with police. Yes, so how does that happen?
Yes, and that's how brazen this stuff is. So if New York, one of the strictest on gun laws, and a funny story about the not the red flag stuff, which I think is I think red flags are a complete poison pill. But the ghost stuff, so you can get a ghost gun in New York. You can order the parts to assemble a gun in New York. But you can't do it in New Jersey. And they're right across the bridge, bro. I could get into New Jersey on public transportation in an hour from Brooklyn. So anybody who realistically thinks this stuff is going to do anything is an absolute moron. And I feel like he weaseled his way in there by saying that more money is the problem. So by saying that there's strategies and programs that have gone underfunded that could help lower gun violence in urban communities, and immediately follows that by telling people how much gun violence costs America. And of course we clipped it, but he goes on to say that, well, we spend so much money in hospital bills, in rehabilitation, and all sorts of stuff. It's all complete theater, and it boils my blood to hear him use the black population once again as a political pawn. I mean, if they really cared, he would have been in Chicago the first day of his presidency to figure out something on the gun violence there. I mean, people, and you could, I don't hold me to this, but I would bet you could just Google Chicago and a date, Chicago, March 21st, 2021, and you'd see a story shooting.
Chicago 21st. Chicago 21st. Toronto, March 2021. Toronto, I said. What's wrong with me? I'm having an aneurysm, apparently. DuckDuckGo, as much as I prefer to have one that doesn't track me, sometimes it sucks and you can't get it. Oh, man. Oh, no. Oh, man, Eric. 20 shot 4 fatally in Chicago. that weekend you just randomly said.
I just randomly said that.
4 people were killed and at least 16 others wounded in some violence. Maybe you picked that. Maybe you picked that, Eric. So we're gonna pick another one. I'm just gonna mash the keypad, and the first numbers are gonna be the ones of the date that I do.
And
Okay.
just
So what's the 6 month?
June.
June 13th. Let's go with 2020.
And just really quick though, do we think?
Oh my God. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Okay. I honestly, this is actually turning out worse than I thought. I feel like we should almost.
You didn't think it'd be this bad?
I didn't think it would be this bad. But does Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, do they actually think?
You can't say that.
I'm sorry. Do they actually think that some sort of gun law is going to stop the thugs in Chicago from shooting at each other? Think about that.
No, because this isn't a real law. Like you said, if they cared, they'd go to this place. But I was going to say, if they cared, they'd try to make a real law and a real argument. They know nothing's going to happen. They know people aren't going to want it. They know that it's caused this huge case where if you bring this in front of law, then it's going to get shut down. You can only, there's a reason why this is by executive order. So that random day, 13 shot, 3 fatally. November 6, 2020. So what do you think about that? I think you cut out there for a second. What did you say?
Yeah, sorry, no. I cut out. You cut out. Somebody cut out for a second. I missed that last little bit that you said.
I just said again, 13 people shot, 3 fatally in just this random number. Did you say you wanted to try it one more time?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think the point has been made, and it's just pure.
I'm gonna do it.
It's pure theatrics, right? I mean, guys, give it a rest, bro.
It sounds like I'm laughing. Like, if it sounds like I'm laughing at these situations, I'm not. It's horrible. I thought that Trump, if he got a second term, he was going to really try to. I was hoping that in order to get a second term, he was going to come out with some big plan to help cities like that. I mean, he did do the Black Excellence thing with that a lot of people supported. I think it's the reason why Lil Wayne publicly supported him, and maybe Exhibit too. But like, I was really hoping that's what was going to happen, and they were going to make a big play to help people, even if it's to get reelected. It's still a good thing, but it just didn't happen, so that's unfortunate. July 14th, 2018, man killed by Chicago police. Eric, we've got a different reach for waste, by the way, but
all right.
So this time, so it's still violence, I guess. It is a fatal shooting that happened that day, so
yeah, I'm sure
a little bit different.
I'm sure the mainstream media, though, would like us to believe that perhaps this guy was just walking down the street doing nothing, and the cop just shot him for the color of his skin, even in Chicago, right?
They probably didn't even cover it, to be honest. Well, maybe if it was a cop shooting a guy, yeah, you're right. It says somewhere in these results that there's a big settlement, $2.2 million, apparently. So maybe he was wrong. But still, another curveball being thrown in the Chicago story. Maybe this is a whole video we should do. Tenny Bowell. I'm going to take a guess at where that is. Tenny Bowell. I'm going to go with Romanian. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. So let us know. The government telling us what guns we can and cannot have is the same as a neighbor that's also a burglar telling you that what kind of locks you can have on your door. Yeah, if your government has a history of stealing your stuff, which the American government does, of course, yeah, I'd say that's fine.
And they know nothing about guns. I am not a gun expert, not by a long shot. I know what I like, but the way you could hear, I mean, even with a surface level knowledge of this stuff, you can tell that Joe Biden and the entire left wing Democrat mainstream media doesn't know anything. They're trying to ban these shoulder holsters or whatever it is, because it looks scary, right? I mean, and they would tell you that AR-15 stands for assault rifle. When that is not the case. They don't know what's happening, but they don't like scary things. Like, it looks scary. It was in a movie, and a Columbine, and all these other sort of things that they've glorified in the media without. But like we know, I mean, ever since Waco. And by the way, the guy that he appointed, the ATF guy. So first of all, he said AFT when it's actually ATF, but that's petty. And the guy that he appointed had a huge hand in the siege at Waco.
Interesting.
And yeah, that's a little bit deeper cut. But he's basically, and I only learned this today. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know about this until I watched the speech and then started looking into it. But he basically was a huge part in blowing up those people in Waco, Texas, in the '90s under Bill Clinton, I believe. So this is, I mean, as the great George Carlin once said, it's one big club, and we're not in it. And they don't care. They genuinely do not care. It's all political theater. And I think with as the internet, I mean, think about it, right? Why is all the censorship so heavy now? Because in the '90s, they would just put it on TV and you would just believe it. But now you can go on the internet and you can look at any website on the planet and get a little bit of truth, but you can't get it on Instagram, you can't get it on Facebook. So it's all pure theater, and that's why they're hanging on by dear life with this social media censorship. I mean, YouTube is included, right? But they don't want you to get anywhere near the truth, because Joe Biden could just come on TV and squint at you and tell you, well, black people are dying, and there's still some people that are going to believe it.
Out of curiosity, last night I decided I was gonna be like, maybe somebody was like, they're gonna do this plan. How could anybody oppose this? I'm like, it's not gonna happen. Like, look at all the stuff that's happened. I was like, hey, maybe I should just Google his top accomplishments so far. The only list I found of his top accomplishments so far was a sarcastic list of 10 things he hasn't, like he claimed there wasn't any vaccines, stuff like that. Let's pay the bills a second here because I want to promote myself. Had an interview with Anomaly yesterday. You know what's hell, Anomaly? The zero you spell. That's what it's hell to, because everybody, I have to go through the title and everything and correct people. Like, no, it's a zero. But wow, what a smart guy he is. He ranted for and I'm saying rant in a positive way. What he said about the border, we talked about. Let me just read my own copy. We talked about the border. We talked about PCR test was a big thing, because I'd seen a lot of his videos on this stuff, and he just goes on a live stream by himself with no breaks for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, standing, by the way. I'm guessing he wants to be a healthy man. Maybe he has one of those treadmill desks, Eric. And I don't know. I used to think that I didn't agree with him a lot, and then even though sometimes I don't agree with him still, I still feel like the reason why he believes it is the same as me, and I know, and he's a person that I think that is genuinely trying to help. He talked a lot of shit about Taco Bell, though, which is unacceptable because it's so bad for you. Taco Bell and Mountain Dew, which tells me he's been in Taco Bell before, because that is one of their staple fountain drinks. Let me tell you guys this right now.
I like Anomaly. I think he makes a lot of sense. I think typically he's pretty level-headed and can call out all sides of the political spectrum. My only thing is, I'll tune into some of his live streams or whatever, and it's like he rails on people like, oh, you're a pussy. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. It's like, dude, so what? Are you going to run for office? Like, I can scream at my iPhone. I can make rant videos. Anybody could do that. But I'm not literally degrading people who I'm claiming to be helping without actually doing anything myself. Are you going down to City Hall? Are you filing any paperwork? How are you gonna actually make a change? That's my genuine question. Not a shot. It's just like he's literally like screaming at his iPhone like, Florida's not free, Texas isn't free, South Dakota's not free. Who's gonna stand up for this? It's like, dude, you can rant on Instagram for 3 hours at a time, but you too need to put in a little bit more footwork than social media, and perhaps he is, and I just don't know about it. That's a genuine question. And I say that in complete contrast with one of my favorites, your previous guest, Fog City Midge, who actually is taking more logical, political, albeit, perhaps corrupt, perhaps useless, but actual steps in the right direction legally, instead of just screaming at an iPhone.
Well, I think there's got to be room for commentary too, though. Like Sean Hannity's not going and building the wall, for example.
Yes, but what the difference is that
You have a problem with the insulting?
yes,
I haven't seen this, so I don't know.
that's it. I mean, and look, I don't watch all of his content, and like I said, no shade. I mean, we've actually, I've messaged him before. Like, he's a cool dude. I'm just saying, like, he went off the handle like a whole bunch of times at like a couple thousand people in his own live stream, and it's like, dude, these are people who look to you for inspiration, and you're just screaming at them, calling them pussies, but you haven't filed one little bit of paperwork, as far as I can see.
Eric for mayor of South Dakota.
And look.
No, it's okay. I understand. You're allowed to.
But I'm not insulting my own audience. That's the only difference.
No, that's not a wise decision if someone is to do that. Michael Jordan once said, and I think I said this last week, Republicans buy sneakers too. And then last night I watched the video of Shaq crying about Kobe Bryant. Sometimes you just got to feel. Okay. Tenny Ball says, not quite Missouri, Tenny Ball, like tennis ball with a face. I'm saying the origins of your last name. So if you'd like to give us more money, we appreciate it, of course. But if you'd like to tell us, or just post it in the chat, we'll bring that up. I'm talking about the origins of the last name, because Tenny isn't, unless I'm wrong, Eric, I've never been to the South. Is that a common name? Because my favorite football player's name of all time is DeBricka Shaw Ferguson. So I'm not sure where he's from.
No, I don't. I can't speak to that. I don't know, bro. I've spent very little time.
Sorry, it's a D apostrophe. DeBricka Shaw Ferguson.
DeBricka Shaw. Yeah,
he's from New York City. There you go.
Well, that makes sense. That might be like some, that's like some Bronx shit. I don't know.
Mace $E.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to spell it. Okay, Eric. I think that's it for us. I think we're about to die.
Let me just plug my book one more time.
Unacceptable. It's not like this is your podcast.
I told you last week that we were getting scary close, and that is still true. All the issues, I believe, have been worked out. I will be getting my fourth, as you can see, 3 here. I don't know which way this reverse thing works. My 4th proof very soon. And when that gets here, it's basically going to go live. So we're looking at like a week or 2. That's it.
Nice. And correct me if I'm wrong, but does it not have 30 straight pages of pictures of Heath Ledger as the Joker? I think
it is. It is 2. So this is the original one. Sorry, the small one, but the 260 full color pages of just decay. And unfortunately, and that was in the running for title as well, but we went a different direction. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say that I think it's only gotten worse. I mean, every day there's a new article about how New York is collapsing, and I'm like, yeah, welcome to 6 months ago. They're like, oh, people are fleeing. Oh, taxes are rising. Crime is going through the roof. I'm like, yeah, well, welcome to June 2020. But I digress. Now I'm getting too turned up. Shout out to Anomaly,
No problem. And I just noticed you have a sticker that says Street Guido. So shout out to Mike the Situation.
Oh, that's I can't for the life of me figure out this reverse thing. But Street Guido, shout out to my buddy Nick from he's out
right
out in California. Yeah, well, I gotta maybe I'll revamp this in a little bit, but I'll keep that one. I feel like right between him and my Supreme sticker of Sade right there, we need something.
Sade? What does that even mean? Is that a real person?
I don't really know how to pronounce her name. She's like this pretty.
Is it like DeRay, the comedian?
No, Google it right now. Sade. Sade. She's like a singer from like the late 80s, early 90s, and this brand, of course, Supreme, of course.
Yes.
They did a collaboration with her. Look, I could probably sell this sticker on eBay for like $50.
Man, DuckDuckGo sucks. It's bringing up Wookiees from Star Wars. All right. We'll see you guys next week. And just a quick note, thanks to everybody for watching. We've been getting several thousand people a week, and if you kind of think about it, that's pretty cool. So, I'll resist the urge to, say something stupid
Awesome.
as best as I can. All right. See you later, man. You keep up the good Bidening. Praise Biden. Good luck with your new laws, your new executive order.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.